Next is factoring the difference of two squares. Here, it is important that you can identify polynomials that is a difference of two squares. So, paano natin malalaman? There are two conditions. First condition, there are two terms separated by a minus. Example is this one. A to the power of 2 minus b to the power of 2. Two terms yan. Yung first term, a to the power of 2. Yung second term, b to the power of 2 and separated by minus. Ma'am, paano kapag plus sign? So, it is no longer difference of two squares. That would be sum of the two squares na. Okay? Second condition, dapat each term must be a perfect square. Remember that when we say perfect square, these are numbers that can be expressed as a product of two equal numbers. So, ito yung mga examples ng perfect square. So, 1, kasi ang factor niya ay 1 times 1. Kamukha, di ba? Sa 4 factors niyan, pwedeng 2 times 2. Same thing with 9, kasi ang factors naman yan ay 3 times 3. 16, ang factors naman yan ay 4 times 4. Then 25, 5 times 5. Okay, and then there's a lot more. So it will be your advantage if you're familiar with a lot of perfect squares numbers. Now, how do we factor the difference of two squares? Remember that in factoring all polynomials, that is a difference of two squares, it is the sum and difference of the square roots of the first and second term. Okay, so these polynomials are examples of difference of two squares. So, how can we factor it? Sabi ko kanina, ang factored form nitong mga to ay sum and difference lang ng square root ng first at second term. So, paano siya gagawin? So, let's take 81, x to the power of 2 minus 64y to the power of 2. Ang factored form niyan ay dalawang binomial, sum, and difference. Okay? Of the square root, what is the square root of 81? That's 9. Lagay mo dito yung isang 9, dito yung isa sa kabila. And then get the square root of 64. That's 8 and 8 dito sa kabila. Okay? So, ma'am, what about the variables? So, you need to break down the exponent. So, x to the power of 2, hatiin lang natin siya. Or simply divide it by 2. So, magiging x lang dito, tapos x dito. Anyway, when you multiply x times x, it will give you x to the power of 2, di ba? Ganun din sa y. So, we have y and y. Ito na agad yung factored form niya. Okay? So, how will you check if you come up with the correct factored form of the difference of two squares? So, pwede natin yung i-multiply using FOIL method. So, first we have 9 times 9 is 81 x squared. And then, itong term na to, tsaka to, that's outer to outer. So, we have negative 72 xy. Okay? Then, inner to inner, it will give us positive 72 xy. And then, last to last, isang positive, isang negative, so that would be negative. X times x, that's 64. Y times y, so we have y squared. Simplifying this, makakancel itong nasa gitna. Kasi parehas, magkaiba lang ng sign, di ba? So, we have 81, x to the power of 2, then minus 64, y to the power of 2. Okay? So, ito siya. Ibig sabihin, tama ito as the factored form of this difference of two squares. Madali lang, di ba? Let's take another example. So, meron tayong dalawang binomial, dapat sum and difference. X to the power of 8. Break natin into 2. So, that would be x to the power of 4, x to the power of 4. Then, 16, ang square root niyan ay 4. So, lagay din natin dito 4. Then, we have y to the power of 2, y. So, ito na yung factored form niya. Next, so we have two binomials, sum and difference. 25 square root niyan ay 5. Tapos, x to the power of 10, break down natin into 2. So, we have x to the power of 5. Then, yung 49 ng square root niyan ay 7. Yung y natin, pag bin-break down natin yan, it will give us, or 4 divided by 2. Yan. Ngayon, pag nakuha mo na to, sulat mo lang din siya sa kabila. Kaiba nga lang sila ng sign. So, that is the sum and difference of these two binomials. Next, so we have 1. 1 times 1 is 1. So, that's the square root already. Then, square root of 9 is 3x. So, yung square root niya, ay yung exponent niya ay 2 kasi 4 divided by 2, then y raised to 5. Yung isa, ilalagay natin dito sa kabila, pero minus naman dapat. Okay, and then last given, we have sum and difference. So, x to the power of 6, so it will become x to the power of 3, y to the power of 5. Then, yung 36, ang square root yun ay 6. Then, we have z, yung exponent natin ay 6 divided by 2, so 3. Dito natin ilalagay naman yung isang para sa kabila. Okay? So, ganyan lang kabilis mag-factor ng difference of two squares.